King Darius III and Demosthenes are not only plausible culprits, almost got it, they're probable culprits, slightly. Oh, you already got it, nice. All right, so King Darius didn't only have means, he was king of the largest empire in that world. He had an insane network of spies and a lot of financial resources. He not only had motive, Philip posed an existential threat to his empire. He wasn't just some upstart rebellion. He not only had opportunity, he conversed with Demosthenes when he visited his court, and like I said, he was the king of the largest empire at the time. He had an established behavioral pattern of reverting to assassination. You see, Darius III wasn't supposed to be king of Persia. He assassinated the ruling king at the time with the help of his mentor, Bagos, or however you would say that in Persian. But he didn't only assassinate the king. Once he had ascended to the throne, he assassinated his mentor. And it's not like once he was a king, he had the power to execute. He could have done that. No, he had him poisoned. And my next point goes on to talk about that. He was a coward. He was a huge weenie. Yeah, Hitler something like that too. So anyway, when Alexander the Great did eventually invade the Persian, come on, man. When he did eventually invade the Persian Empire, he confronted Darius at the Battle of Issus. And at this battle, Darius outnumbered Alexander's forces by over a margin of 2-1. And that's a conservative estimate. He still lost, badly, but he started to rout even before the battle was lost. Before his men fled, Darius was out of there. And it's not like, he withdrew with his bodyguards or he withdrew in style. He literally threw off all of his kingly trappings, jumped out of his chariot, and just booked it. And we know this because Alexander collected all these after the battle and went around, put them on his head, got in his chariot, and rode around in them. So Darius is exactly the kind of person who would resort to assassination. He's morally deficient, a coward. He's not going to face somebody face to face if he has to. He's going to take them out from a range, which is what he tried to do. He also resorted to other means that are going to tie in a little bit to Demosthenes when he funded the Theban and Athenian rebellion against Alexander. When that assassination of Philip didn't play out how it worked, it ended up replacing Philip with an even more lethal king. He went back to his ways of trying to subvert and use others, and let's talk about that in the next slide. So the partner in this, the culprit in all this, was Demosthenes. Now Demosthenes had a personal relationship with King Darius. He had traveled to meet him. And keep in mind that in ancient times, this is not easy. It's not like you're taking a trip down to Carmel or Bloomington or something to see your old friends from high school. He had to cross the Mediterranean. He had to travel across what was back then massive distances, a voyage of months. But he still took the time and the effort to do this. Obviously, these guys had a great working relationship. In addition to that, even though Demosthenes was theoretically a democratic orator, one of the biggest speakers in Athens at the time, he was disliked by his fellow orators. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I'll make a fool of myself, but this guy was also anti-Philippic. So it's not as if they had different opinions about the Macedonian king. They both hated him. It was just that Demosthenes was regarded as a terrible person. You can read the quote up there. At the moment, it is true his extravagance has been glutted by the king's gold, king being Darius. But even this will not satisfy him. No wealth has ever proved sufficient for a greedy character. And he's talking about Demosthenes there, not Philip, not Alexander, not an enemy. He's talking about an Athenian orator. And even though Demosthenes was being, funneled these funds in order to resist Philip, he wasn't even using them entirely to resist Philip. He was using them for his own ends. So he bought wealthy houses. He lived in the style of luxury. So it's not as if, he was some innocent champion trying to unite the Greek states against Philip. He was a bad person, the 1% in a bad way. And he also gave speeches about how terrible of a person Philip was. And a lot of the people we've talked about have had reasons to dislike Philip. Yes, Olympias, obviously reasons to be bitter. A lot of the other defendants, also reasons to be bitter. But Demosthenes hated Philip so much that they had to invent a word to describe it, Philippic, and that literally means to attack violently and disparagingly. So we're talking a whole nother magnitude of, a whole nother order, rather, of hatred. So this is a guy who would have stopped at nothing. Given the opportunity, he would have leaped at it. And if the opportunity was offered to him by Darius, as it so clearly was, that's exactly how it played out.